I actually turned down joining Beltazzoni for the first time.
Crazy.
I was sitting in the studio and
This is Take Two.
It's a busy week.
it has. We actually had so one of the boys that works with us, he looks after a lot of the string of like upcoming artists, upcoming DJs and all. So they were up in the studio last night, just basically shadowing what me and Biss were doing. You know,
Where are you based, actually?
I'm originally based in Donaghmede,
Okay.
but the studio's in Drumna. So
All right.
Bissa lives in Drumna, so it's out his man's back. So just
God.
keeping it at home, you know.
Yeah. Speaking of which, in terms of, like, I know you guys are signed, but is it still quite like an independent production that you guys are trying to run and stuff?
Yeah, definitely. Like the only thing that's actually signed to the label is the music, but the brand, as like Beltazzoni as a brand, is still us, and that's something obviously we made clear when we signed with the label that we wanted to be in charge of still anything that's like expanding as Beltazzoni. Yes, they can support it in a way, but there's obviously discussions to be had because it's just signed. They've just signed Beltazzoni as me and Bissa as producers rather than us being the developers of the brand itself. You know what I mean?
Okay. Was it actually like quite a tough argument to get that?
No.
Like they were actually
surprisingly not. Like I thought it was
crazy.
gonna be. I thought it was gonna be hard. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But like the way we approached it to them was like they came to us because of the music, not because of what our visions were. Like that's not why labels sign you. They don't sign you because like we have good ideas. You know what I mean? It's not like so. What we basically put it to them and said, look, you can sign us, but like we have to still dictate what's going to happen in terms of Beltazzoni as a brand, and because of what they seen that we're doing, like I said, like they obviously knew the ideas. We had to still sell it to them in a way, obviously, because they're going to sign us.
Yeah.
But because they've seen what we're doing, what we're planning on doing, what we have done, they're still supporting it. Like, and the respect is there where they're like, right, okay, we'll sign you on a music deal. We'll work together in terms of the music, because regardless of what we do, it stems from the music. So, once they're supporting that, they're like realistically they're still supporting the whole thing. Really, you know what I mean?
Because like when it comes to a good few artists, especially if they are independent, there's this whole talk about how you're kind of like selling your soul or selling everything. Is it actually the case where artists are kind of desperate to get signed, or is that changing?
Well, I can only speak on behalf of my own experience, yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, I always wondered that myself, but from what I've experienced, and the position that I'm in, because like we're doing, like, before we were Beltazzoni, before any of this, I was my own artist for 10 years. I'm doing this nearly 10 years now. I was producing music before the DJ'd, so all I've known is music. You know what I mean? So I've worked really hard to get to this position. So for a label to come into me, I don't feel desperate in a way, if that makes sense. Like, I know if the label were to drop me tomorrow, I'm still going to continue doing what I'm doing. You know what I mean?
Key.
And that's the way you have to put that across to these labels, because that's the industry. Like it's I don't know about any other industry, but in the music industry, if you give, it's anything, it's business. But if you give, no matter, they don't care about who you are, where you're from. They don't. They care if you have a brand that sells. And if you're in a position where, like, they're going, like you're saying, okay, I want to, like, any up and coming producer. I'm the same. I'm still am now. I was a naive, up and coming person that wanted to be sold a dream, that wants to be told, I'm going to be a superstar. That's the truth of it. And there's a lot of people out there that are like that in their own sectors. Then there's this label that comes in and tells them, we can give you that. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, a lot of people can fall for that. You know what I mean? Especially when you weren't reared or born into money, or into, like, lucky enough to be in a position where you're already set up for life. And when you're being told you can get this contract for this 1 track or 2 track where you're getting maybe, I don't know, offered 40 grand, 50 grand. Like, it's a big figure for somebody who's not necessarily seeing that money all the time. You know what I mean?
100%.
But it's not a lot of money In like if there's the likes of like a major label like the likes of say Polydor or RCA or all these big music labels coming in and they're offering you figures, it's in that moment where, and this is where we need to kind of change that, where like we need to give a bit more, especially I'm talking basically based off people from Ireland, from Dublin.
Yeah,
because it's very rare that it's happening, not as much anymore now, but when I was starting off, it's completely rare that there was like people were getting signed over here to major labels and that like that, because there wasn't a lot of producers, like, so there's not a lot of information on it. But 40-50 grand for a song, or trying to sign an artist on a 3-year deal or a 3 single deal, it's not a lot of money. Because if you go back and look and actually learn, and I actually had to learn this the hard way, you know what I mean? This is how I know about this stuff, because like in the past I've been fucked over with labels and stuff like that, you know what I mean? So it's basically down to information, you know what I mean? Knowing what, like, if you were to make a song that goes viral or make a song that's successful, you have to be, you know, you have to know how much that song's actually going to make you or make the label if you do sign that track off. And most of the time when a song goes viral, it's worth a lot more than 40-50k. A lot more than that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But for the person that's coming up, that maybe feel like they're desperate or they're being sold a dream, this and that, it's very easy for someone to get snapped up. Next thing you know, you're in a contract for 3 or 4, 5 years, you know what I mean? And you're struggling to find that next track. You know what I mean? And it's still happening today. You know
And you can't afford that lawyer to get out of the contract either.
You can't afford any of the services that's in front of you, you know? Like everything looks great when the song gets signed and the song's doing great in the moment, but the next, the label don't care about you personally. They want to know what's next, you know what I mean? And it's business at the end of the day. So unfortunately, some kids aren't in a position to be able to deal with that, you know what I mean? And that's something that kind of we're trying to do now. Trying to bring that, you know, experience and bring that information back home to Dublin and give these people like a fighting chance in terms of if they are going to come in and be producers and be be DJs in this industry, well then they need to, you know, have a head on their shoulders. You know what I mean? And not just go in blind. You know what I mean? So
because you get lost. There's also the excitement of it. These people would have been working for it for their whole life. They're dreaming about it. It's nearly crazy to then just have this one paper be presented in front of you and go, you know what? No. Because like, what if this is the only opportunity for you? And then there is that element of hope and what if should have.
Yeah.
They fucking eat your brain, man, and they talk like no other.
Oh, listen, they sell you the dream.
Jesus, man.
It's still happening now. Like even like I was saying that one of the boys at the moment, this song is going viral. One of my mates, one of the boys that he manages, and like every single label in the UK are literally ringing him, selling them the whole dream, you know what I mean? And
what's the crack with that? Like, I'm sure you've heard of it where a lot of people are complaining now that artists are getting their song to go viral on TikTok before it's released, but then it takes ages for the song to get released and everyone's like, fuck you, we don't care anymore. Like the time is gone.
I don't understand that myself, to be honest.
Yeah.
And like we are signed actively now to a label where, you know, they base a lot. It's like we got signed off the basis of our track on viral on TikTok. You know what I mean? Like, Make Me Feel Good went viral on TikTok.
Did it get viral before you released it? Or?
Yeah.
Like, you know how sometimes they say keep working, you don't know who's watching?
Everyone's watching. Everybody's watching.
It's so true.
For example, there's a bloke that we know, Craig Gorman, and he put out a song. You've probably heard it, Talk About Sex. It's on the radio. It's a big radio track, but he long story short, it got to Ed Sheeran. Ed Sheeran was doing like a before his Tree Arena show, his Crow Park show. Sorry.
Yeah.
He was playing in Whelan's. He done like an intimate show in Whelan's beforehand, and there's literally a clip of him talking about Craig, like doing balloons and like on his story on Instagram. So Ed Sheeran's cruising through his Instagram, like, you know what I mean, and it just shows you like with social media, anybody can be watching it. Like you have no idea who could be watching it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, so especially in this day and age, you have to watch that. It's dangerous.
100%.
It's dangerous, that.
Yeah, it's so strange. I know this isn't music related, but I brought it up previously where, you know, like with the likes of Ronaldo and how now he like shifted over, like fuck Manchester United, gonna make big bucks in Saudi.
That broke my heart, by the way.
Broke everyone's heart. Yeah. But like, it is also quite a lesson in that if they're gonna treat Ronaldo like shit, and even Ronaldo can't get his fucking way, let alone the likes of you or us or whatever it may be. Like, these people don't care.
They don't.
The money they have is fucking unreal.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, but it just shows you it's not really about it's not about the person. Never is about the person.
No,
It's only looks like
the
they're your
story
friends with
is
this
about
person.
the person and
Yeah,
all
it's
that
about the
shit.
brand.
Yeah,
Everything's about the brand.
yeah.
If the brand is not working, well then you're not working.
Out.
You know what I mean?
Out.
That's the way it is. That's why he had to do his thing and get out here. And I respect that as much as I hate the way the story ended with United, because
pity,
I grew up watching him at United. You know what I mean? So, but like the decision he made to go off and still play football, still enjoy his football, and still make 200 million a year.
Fuck.
You know what I mean? And like that's hats off to him. You know what I mean? He took it in the matter of his own hands, and that's what like hopefully we like that's kind of what I want. I want to have independency in my own work and in what I'm doing, regardless of who, if I sign with this person or that person. I want to make sure that we have independency in what we are creating at the end of the day, because it's very easy, like we said, to get caught up in that. But and like I said, that's the information that we're trying to give to these people coming up in Ireland as well, because obviously that information isn't basically put in front of these people as quick as it is a contract. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's fucking gate kept, and that type of information is so priceless. It's so priceless.
Like like I just want to go back on what you were saying. You were saying a minute ago, it's very quick to put a contract in front of somebody, and you know, it's like the world is at their feet standing there. But I want to, like, we want to give hope, and we want to show people that contract being put in front of you isn't as unrealistic as it feels. Like if you believe and you work hard enough, you can do anything, and that goes for anything. Like we just said, Ronaldo doing what he did. He came from a rough background. He was poor. Well, not as poor as Ronaldo, but I came from a background where I wasn't handed anything. I wasn't handed money. I wasn't handed all the things that I've wanted. You know what I mean? And I just believed in myself. I just looked forward. Unfortunately, I was in a position where I had to get actually like trial and error. You know what I mean? I had to deal with all these things and get fucked over and get like the harsh realities of how these things work. But I've come out of it still on top, and I want to bring that experience to the people and show the people, look, there's a better way to do it than I did it. But just look at how I did it, and look that I still live in my man's calf now. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm fucking successful. Yeah. I still live in my man's house now. But
and why is that?
Like a perfect example of it is that, like, I might be signed to Polydor Records, but I'm still not set. You know what I mean? I'm still not fucking making millions. I'm still not. Yeah, I might have been sold a dream at the time, and don't get me wrong, Polydor is great. I'm releasing great music. They put me on a great platform, but it doesn't give you the life that some people might think that it gives you. You know what I mean? Like I'm still having to work hard every single day of the week. I have to work probably harder now. You know what I mean? Than the past 10 years of my life.
Pressure's on you.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. It's like you wake up and you're suddenly a success overnight, and it's never the case. But because of that, over your shoulder, you have to be working twice as hard as anyone else. You know what I mean? And sometimes people think, like, these people's coming up, they think that, you know, once you get to this point, it's just all smooth sailing, which is never the case. It's actually much harder. But it's just the message I'm trying to send is that I want it to be realistic, that you can put a contract in front of somebody. It's just when you get to that point, how you deal with it, and how you don't get fucked over for the rest of your life or the next few years of your life.
I think it's just keeping that level-headed concept of it's in my hands.
Yeah.
I can do this. It's not like, no, I want to be sound to these people. I don't want to come across.
Not having that imposter syndrome.
Yeah. That's imposter system.
Not feeling like you shouldn't be there, and putting a face on rather than having that face and knowing that that you should be there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And working with the lads at Baltasoni, like the likes of Bissett and Evo, like these boys. I'm younger than the two of them, but we started in the same club years ago.
Okay.
In Sin, and I was younger than them coming in, and they watched me. And even though Biss was obviously doing his thing, I was doing my thing. We went our own way, but they're a bit older, so I kind of, like I said, I went through a few rough patches where, like, I got fucked over within the industry in different ways, not just one situation. Like, I'm not going back to like one personal time. Like, there's been a lot of times where I've been, you know, I've been dealt the shit at hand. You know what I mean? And obviously it affects a person. You know what I mean? It affects the trust. It affects, you know, walking into a room and still fully believing in yourself. It affects all that stuff. You know what I mean? Because once you put belief into somebody or put trust into something, and you constantly get thrown back in your face, it can affect you. You know what I mean? So obviously I struggled a lot with that. But when I met the likes of Biss, like, and Evo, and we actually sat down, and I seen the vision of Baltasoni and seeing what they wanted to do, and they gave that like they put that trust back in me, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, and they put that belief back in me, you know what I mean, and
That's fucking priceless, dude.
yeah, it's priceless, and it's
priceless.
it's about the people around you.
Yes.
Like, it's about gathering that circle. It's about, and that's the main thing. Like, you know what I mean. Like, you can. One thing I learned is that you cannot do anything on your own.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean. And a lot of people in Ireland are bred to believe that, you know, you're never good enough to do this, you're never good enough to do that, and that creates a certain version of somebody where they feel like they need to go rogue on everything. It's like, fuck you, I'm not going to listen to you, I'm not going to do this. You know what I mean? And that just gets people.
It gets people
in a shit
bitter.
position.
Yes, exactly.
You know
In a
what I mean?
shit position. Then they end up bitter and going like, all right, I'm going to do this alone. And then that creates a stubbornness
Yeah.
where you're like, no, fuck you, I don't need you. When in reality, this dude on your right could be the reason why you make it or not.
100%. Oh, 100%. That's
Yeah.
literally the nail on the head. Like, I actually turned down joining Beltazzoni for the first time.
Crazy.
I was sitting in the studio and obviously we was doing my thing, and it was about, like, before we were even a duo, we were constantly compared, because I'm from one side of Dublin, he's from the other side.
Yeah, I heard you mention that
Yeah,
on a podcast.
so I'm literally from like Coolock, in Coolock Donaghmede area, and he's from Drimnagh. So we're both from completely different sides of the city, where we were constantly compared. Like, his name was always in the mouth of the people over on the south side, my name was always in the mouth of the people on the north.
Is there
Yeah.
that big of a feud between?
It's not that it's a feud, it's just,
Okay.
I feel like it's more of a small mind mentality,
Ugh.
where, like, people are just, like, from their areas and they're repping their areas, and fuck that person from that side and fuck that person from that. So really,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter, and I'll prove it. I've proven it, because once me and Bissett came together as one, you'll catch that person that was talking shit about Bissett to me standing beside the person who was talking shit about me to Bissett, standing beside each other under the tent in the club or whatever room that we're playing
Yeah.
in, enjoying the music. You know what I mean? And
That's what it's about, man.
it's a mentality switch. And that's what me and Biss did. We've, even for me, like I said, like, I was bitter as well. I was in a position where I wasn't strong enough mentally, and I was believing these people. I was, and I told Bissett to his face, I said, look, I said, there was a time where I hated you because you were doing good and I wasn't, and I wasn't understanding why. But after meeting, and you know, when I'm meeting, like, getting around like-minded people who are just in it for the right reasons, and obviously I was sidetracked a lot from the shit I was dealing with. He basically put me back in the straight and narrow and said, look, it's about this, it's about this, it's about this, and this is what we need to do. And that's the message we're sending now. Stick together, find the people around you that are literally thinking the way you are, and you're literally unstoppable. And because of, within a year, not even a year, we got a contract on the table. We got told, you know, we got support from everybody who we dreamt of getting supported by. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I watched the vlogs. You were traveling to London. You were doing all the radio shows, and just happened so quickly. Look, I wanted to read. I have this thing, right, where I take a look at my guests before the chat, and then I screenshot whatever words they said that stood out to me. So I'm gonna read you your words.
Uh-oh.
Now, this is when you opened up at the Tree Arena, so you were a supporting act. Now that things have calmed down from the weekend, I've been evaluating what actually happened. That show meant so much more to me than it looked. Go back 2 to 3 years ago, when I was down and out for the first time in my life, I felt like giving up. But something inside me told me that it's not in me to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And looking at what myself and Bissett achieved by playing the Tree Arena in our hometown is nothing more than proving that if you work your whole off and fully believe you can do whatever you want to do, you can do it. At the end of the day, I'm just a normal fella from Dublin with a dream. I'm not doing any of this for fame or any of that. I genuinely do this because I love everything about music and what music does to people. But I also understand how much you have to work to get to positions like this. I know some people who know me a few years back are probably still remembering me as a DJ who's flat out all the time. He's this, he's that, but honestly, I'm a different animal now. Mm-hmm. Blinkers are on, the hunger is fully back. Nothing is going to take that away from me again. No, fair play. Like, that gave me the fucking chills when I read that, honestly, man.
Thank you.
5 things stood out from me there. And weirdly enough, with the first, 5-10 minutes that we've been chatting about, you literally, already pinpointed these 5 things. So I'm going to start off with the first one. Being a young boy with a dream.
Mm-hmm.
And as you just said, it's kind of like in Ireland, it's in Dublin. It's probably a small island mentality, which I can also like relate to. When you have dreams that involve other people admiring you, being on a stage, being an actor, whatever it may be, everyone's telling you, nah, stop that.
Yeah.
You're not like, come on, be humble.
Yeah.
What was that like for you?
When I started off, obviously I started very young. I started like
You
I
were
always
born into music, weren't
I
you?
was born into it. Yeah, I was blessed to be born into it. Like me dad sang to me since I was born. Still sings now. My grandfather was part of all the show bands over all of Ireland. Both sides of the family are just
Yeah.
very musicious. Musicious. Now there's a word.
Musicians.
You can quote that one.
Musical.
Don't even know if that's a word or not. But yeah, look, I don't know what it was. I was always very isolated. I was just an isolated kid coming up. I wasn't that straightforward young fella that, you know, I was out in the streets bleeding, drinking or being stupid, you know what I mean? And just the usual straightforward young fella. Like I was never one that felt like you needed to be in with a crew or a group of young fellas, you know what I mean? But at the same time I always wondered why I wasn't, you know, I didn't like that stuff, you know what I mean? Yeah. But I don't know what it was. I always just felt like I was happier sometimes just to be doing my own thing. I always knew skill wasn't for me. So I don't know, I always just believed something was going to be bigger than, not bigger than anything, but like I always felt like there was something bigger there for me than what was the straightforward job, you know what I mean? And for years, literally up until, I reckon for the majority of the time I was doing what I've been doing, even though from the time I was like 15, 16, I was DJing in clubs.
That's so young, man.
Yeah, like the owner had to come to the house and ask for permission and all. It was mad, but
how did you actually get that first gig?
Well, like I said, I produced before I made music, or before I DJed, so
okay,
I kind of had a little name for myself around the area before I actually started DJing. You know what I mean? Because obviously nobody was really putting songs up on SoundCloud from Dublin or making house music from Dublin. It was just it was unheard of, really. But as far as I was concerned, or where I was from, I never heard this before.
So it was like word of mouth, really.
Yeah, but then once people got word out that, like, it was just literally a young fella from the Donaghy's in Bleeding Donaghmade making a song, you know what I mean? Like, it was mad, but
it's like a documentary, man.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, we'll get to that soon, hopefully in the next couple of years. But yeah, look, I was constantly getting questioned by my own family, by everybody. As much as we are involved in music, I didn't want to. I never wanted to go. Still to this day, I never want to go down that normal route. I don't know what it is. Like, I'm backwards, so I get my car before I get my license. You know what I mean? That's just the type of person that I am. But that always frustrated the people around me. You know what I mean? Because obviously I'm not doing things by the book. Not that I'm trying to be awkward. It's just
the way you
think.
It's
just the way I am. It's just the way I've thought. You know. But yeah, literally, like, I've been questioned up until, not, I wouldn't say questioned. Well, yeah, questioned and maybe challenged. And my mentality towards that for most of it, before I was I'm actually in it now, where I'm actually, you know, I understand the business now, I understand the industry that I'm in. I'm signed to a major label. Like, I know exactly how it works now. Whereas before I was constantly chasing that dream while still trying to convince people what I was doing and how I was doing it. Whereas nobody around me has done that before. So, like, now I understand that they couldn't understand, if that makes sense, because it wasn't a normal thing. You know what I mean? And over time, like, obviously I was stressed out, like serious, like, arguments going on nearly every day, where I was trying to prove to my people that, and my friends, and, you know, that this is what I'm going to do, you know what I mean? And I was never laughed at by my family, but I was laughed at by my friends back in the day. I was laughed at by, you know, the teachers that was teaching me in the schools. Like, I was laughed at because someone from my area it's just unheard of, and I was just, like, basically living in the stars according to all them. But as much as I was, you know, trying to convince them that, like, this is going to happen, like, I'm going to do this, because I feel like that's, in a way, I feel like I had a bit of I'm too considerate in terms of, like, what people think and what people, you know, I want people to understand, like you said at the start, I'm not doing this for fame. I'm not doing this for, I understand that my job is that there's part of that, like, I am going to be in the public eye, people are going to know who I am, but I'm doing this for different reasons. Like, I'm I want this shift, you know, the standard of living that my family have and that the people around me have. And, you know, when you're just 16, 17 and 18 trying to tell somebody that that's what you want to do and you want to do it through music, it sounds very like, you know, crazy to people who would never think like that, you know what I mean? But as the years have gone on, you know, I went through that phase, and you know, now that I'm in a position where I can be secure in what I do now. Like if I was to stop tomorrow, I can. There's so many different jobs I can do. There's so many different, like, you know, different angles I can take now because of where I'm at.
You
the
can
position that
manage
I'm in.
people. You can
Yeah, but I could do loads of different things like that. You know what I mean? But for most of the years I was doing it, I was constantly questioned up until now. You know what I mean? Because, like I said before, it was a battle, but now I understand because, like they could never understand because they were never in that position. So, I can see why they were the way they were, and I'd never talking about my family here now. I'd never you know, have a bad word to say about them. All they want for me is to be secure, and I completely understand that now. But as a kid growing up, I'm thinking that they're, you know, the worst people ever. You know,
that's always in hindsight. Eh? Take me to your first gig at 16. How many were in the crowd?
It was a full house. It was a full house. I was supporting. I think it was Frankie Rizzardo. He's a huge DJ in Dublin. Like a well-known act that used to come over here all the time in Sin. I was really lucky, I think, in a way, because I had somebody at the time who was, you know, very what could I say, very influential in the Dublin scene.
Okay. You had the right contacts.
Yeah, well, it was just like I said, it was before TikTok, before Vine, all this. It was just SoundCloud. I was making music, and the right person heard it, and his name is Sam Sparrow. Shout out to Sam. He is now involved with like all the big clubs in Ibiza. He used to be the social media manager at Ministry of Sound, which he got me over there as well. But he was the first person that basically reached out to me and said, "Look, let's get you into the club." You know what I mean? And at the time, I've all to thank for Sin, because Sin was an environment for me that I was able to grow up in within the club scene in Dublin, which now in this day and age is still very, very rare. You know, in terms of club culture in Dublin, like where people like myself can grow up, it's not very common. You know what I mean? And I feel like I was lucky in that way, and timing and all that. But yeah, he brought me in. He asked me, am I around next week or something like that? And I actually said, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, of course I said, yeah, you know what I mean? But I actually couldn't DJ at the time. But the day before the show, he had to come in, and he basically told me, right, come into the club, and we'll get one of the lads to come in and teach you. And I learned how to DJ the day before I went on the decks, which was scary. But
were you like shit?
I went straight in.
Before?
Oh, yeah, fucking sure it was.
Oh
I shit
God.
myself, absolutely shit myself. But the excitement of it as well, like, it was the scariest thing I did. But after that, it was just like that adrenaline that I felt. Probably the first time I felt proper, like, alive, and felt like, you know, this is what I should be doing, you know, playing in front of crowds. And I think as well, like, even in that first set that I ever played, like, I had some of the music I made myself at that first set, you know what I mean?
No way. Like, you played it?
Yeah, played it out, and it went off, you know what I mean? So
crazy.
I've had that feeling, you know. I know.
Bug.
I feel like even to this day I bring that with me, you know what I mean? Where I read the crowd, and I made music based around the club I was playing in, and Sin nightclub gave me the pleasure of playing there every single weekend up until after that. Like, I was playing there every weekend, whether it was a different brand night, whether it was, you know, I really got taken in there. So it helped me a lot along the way in terms of like finding out what the people like, and you know what I mean. I was going home during the week, I was making music to suit exactly what the people were listening to that weekend, you know what I mean. And I was blessed in that sense, you know what I mean.
It's also one of those moments where on the day you're probably like, why the fuck did I why did I say yes? I'm not excited, I'm fucking nervous. And then you go and you're like, this is it. Yeah. This is it. How I need to figure out how I'm going to keep doing that for the rest of my fucking life.
Yeah. That's what, look, still to this day, I'm like that. I'm not going to sit here and say my mentality is perfect now. Like, I question shit all the time.
Yeah, do you still have, weirdly enough, I always ask about like doubt and all that kind of stuff. Do you still battle that?
Yeah, every day. Every single day.
But what's the doubt like? Has it developed to you're never going to make it to now you sort of made it significantly higher? So what's the next level of doubt?
I just think it's always constantly questioning my next move. That's just always the way I've been. I always, something that I think I still battle with to this day is like being comfortable in the position that I'm in.
It's scary.
And to an extent where like I'm like, in a way, humble and be appreciative of that. Like, I'm in this position, whereas, like I said, like we just been speaking, like I wasn't in that position 5 years ago. I was dreaming of this position 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
Exactly.
But I don't know, like, I think it's just who I am, really. Like, it's something I'm gonna always be battling with. Like I'm always thinking, like my girlfriend says I'm a nuisance for her, like I'm always thinking 5 years ahead, whereas I should be just being happy now. But a lot has happened in the last couple of years where, reality has hit me, where I've been, I've been forced to sit down and look at what's around me and, take it in. Like, my mother was last year was probably the maddest year of my life, like without a doubt. Like, the year I was obviously signed to one of the biggest labels in the world, my mother was diagnosed with cancer.
I'm sorry, man.
That's all good. She's doing well and all that, but obviously that's my ma's my life, and the whole, like I said, it goes back to, all these years of arguing with my ma and telling her, like, I'm gonna do this for us, I'm gonna do this and that, and I'm looking like I'm constantly fighting with her and this and that. But deep down, she always supported me in that sense, and I was always thinking about, like, making all this money and, becoming rich and sorting everyone out, and everyone's lives around me is gonna be great. All my people are gonna be good, and obviously this sickness came into our home. Or disease, I'd say, and it's just opened my eyes, really. You know what I mean? It's shown me that I can't be in control of everyone else. I can't be in control of life, if that makes sense. I can't dictate what happens in the next 2 or 3 years.
No.
Whatever is meant for me won't pass me. And in on that, like, with my mum being sick, it's brought me right back down to earth, to the point where, I'm still going to be who I am. I'm still going to doubt everything that I do. Like, I'm always constantly going to overanalyze everything. But I just think of her, and I just think of, like the way that can happen to anybody, especially your own. And it just moves you back down there. It's just be like, right, just appreciate what's going on. Appreciate what you have when you have it. And just take it in. Because, like, at the end of the day, like, if you constantly think about what's going to happen the next 2 or 3 years, you'll never be happy.
And you'll forget what the 2 years were like until you get there. And then the same keeps going.
Exactly.
And I think one of those situations, it ends up just being like, I'm not saying those streams, those don't matter, those numbers don't matter.
Yeah.
But then it's just like, even if a song flopped, you're grand.
Yeah.
You're going to keep fucking going,
Exactly.
That's basically it.
Yeah.
Such an annoying, humble, like, slice of humble pie that, like, you get faced with in this world and in this journey through life, where you're like, fuck you, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's part of it, man.
With the music, I'm putting it out there for people to hear, and obviously I want people to like it. But at the end of the day, you have to think about why you're doing it in the first place. And if you're a musician, or you're an artist, or you're a creative, that could be anything.
Yeah.
And you're putting it out there, like, you have to like what you're putting out first, because
it has to serve you first.
Exactly. That, but it should be just serving you. You know what I mean? And once you're happy with it, you put it out. You know what I mean? And that's something I've kind of learned. Like I said, I'm an overanalyst. So there's been a lot of times where I've been in the studio and I've made a song, and I haven't put it out still to this day. There's so much music I've never put out because I've just been overthinking.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And, like, now though, I've basically, what I do is, like I said, it has to serve me, right? So if there's a song where I'm like, like, I loved, and then as I go down the line, I make 2 or 3 more songs. I've listened to this song 50, 60 times before anyone else has heard it, and now I'm sick of it, and I think it's shit, right? This is a big problem that a lot of producers have. They overthink their music. They listen to their music too much, and then when you listen to a song on the radio, like, and it's on every single day on the radio, like, and you might have liked it the first time, but then that's it. You fucking hate the song then. By the end of the week, that's for you. But that's like a producer imagine a producer making a song, constantly listen to the same thing over and over and over again, same frequencies over again, and then they end up hating the song and they never put it out. But that song could, without a doubt, be a hit. You know what I mean? And like to the people, not like a hit as in the radio, like a hit to, like, it could connect with somebody. And like something that I've learned is I just bring myself back to when I first made the song and how it made me feel when I first made it. Like when I listened to that song for the first time as it was done, and if I got the if I got the butterflies from it, I got that
You
feeling.
get giddy. You want to show it to people.
Exactly. You have to go back to that because that's the feeling that the listener, the first listener, when they hear it for the first time, is going to feel. To whoever likes that stuff, obviously music is subjective, but to whoever likes that type of stuff, if you feel like that after making that song, somebody out there is going to feel like that somewhere, and it will always work. You know what I mean? Like no matter what song or what music you're making, it will connect with somebody somewhere. So you should always just put it out. If you get the chance, just put it out. Do you get me? Because it will always work with somebody somewhere.
And just keep doing. Just keep making.
Just keep putting it out. Like
it's
unlimited.
Out,
it's unlimited. Just create and just fuck it out. Why not?
And have fun with it. That's it. Look, the second thing then, and you also touched on it, was you said that 2 to 3 years ago you were very close to giving up. Now I know you've mentioned that the pandemic was quite a massive thing for you, where I can imagine going from the age of 16, where your only job is gigs, to then, I know that you started a retail job 1 month before the pandemic started. So I'm assuming you had a little bit of a blip in your career where you're just like, well, fuck, this is going to happen. And then the pandemic just kicks you up the arse.
Yeah. The pandemic was interesting.
Yeah.
Because I was shitting it when I heard that we were all going into lockdown. Because obviously...
That was your fire. That was your fuel.
We were the first to close and the last to open.
Yeah.
The music industry, the arts industry in Dublin. So we were the ones that got it.
That was horrible, man.
Yeah, it was horrible. But, it was mad because as much as I was going into the pandemic thinking, like, what the fuck am I going to do here? You know what I mean? Like, what am I going to do? Like, I knew regardless, I was able to sit there, I was able to, open up my laptop and make music. I could always do that. I was blessed that I could in a position to still make music regardless because I could just sit in my room and do that. But, from DJing for years, and that was my money earner, At the time, obviously, I wasn't making money from releasing music, that was just, just to put out. But what the pandemic taught me was, what it did, not that what it taught me, but, because everything was going 100 miles an hour, like just before the pandemic, right, I'll run through how it was. So I went on tour, toured Ireland for a song that I put out when I was 17, 18, and played all over Ireland, still in school, for all like the college weeks and the rag weeks, and when I was on midterms and stuff like this, I was touring for the week. I was coming back to school and it was a million miles an hour. Then shit kind of went stale. I went through kind of issues with management and issues with, contracts and
Did you get screwed over that bad?
I wouldn't say I got screwed over bad. I reckon I was just naive at that time. I'm not gonna shit on anybody. But I was, I was in a naive position. And shit happened at the end of the day. But it was like I look at the situation where I was maybe done wrong in a way, but I look at it in a position where if I didn't go through that at such a young age, I was going to go through it at some point in the future. Yeah, because that's the business that I'm in.
Would you say you were nearly burnt out?
Yeah, burnt out is the right way of explaining it. Because obviously after the like this is it, because as much as I was burnt out, I still wanted to continue because it's all I knew. It's what I knew made me happy, or what I thought made me happy. But with gigs and with making all this money and living the high life comes partying, comes being around the people that wouldn't be around you if you didn't have money or you weren't doing well. And I fell into that as well. I fell into doing a lot of drugs, a lot of drinking.
Stress on the body, on the mind in general.
It's damaging, and it damages me. And I didn't have the support there outside of my home, whereas I should have. And it was when, the pandemic stopped. There was nothing going on. Where there was people in my life that were supposed to be, rooting for me in a sense where, the support that I needed and the reason why they were there was to provide that support. It wasn't happening. And what it done was, for a few months, it was the roughest few months of my life because obviously I was mentally drained. You know, I wasn't making money. I was, you know, it was a shit time. But after a while, because I was constantly questioning things and, you know, think about what's next. You know, what am I going to do? A lot of them few months I was battling. What am I going to do? Like, I'm going to have to stop doing this. And I turned to my family. I turned to me mum, my dad, my sister, you know, me people, and they knocked sense into me and they said, look, they said, you have to look at things as they are. You know, like, you're not going to be able to get up now and continue to do what you're doing. This is the situation that's at hand. Like, you need to, you know, you need to figure out how you're going to make money here. Like, this is what it's about. You need to find stability right now. You know what I mean? And that was reality. It hit me, and through the pandemic, it humbled me. That job was probably the best thing that ever happened to me.
Why?
It humbled me because I for so long I was fed the dream. I was fed this superstardom. I was going to be this best thing since sliced bread. You know what I mean? And I believed that for too long. But with that comes obviously all the shit that I went through. It put me in a bad mental state where I was, you know, so delusional to the point where I was like, I shouldn't, like, if I go to this, it goes back to this mentality that's in Dublin, our stubbornness in Dublin, where, like, I thought to myself, if I end up in that job
I'm done.
and somebody sees me in that job, I'm done. And the people that know me as RobbieG and this DJ, they're going to look at me and think he's after failing. And this is the mentality that I had when I was walking into this job.
And what was the reality of it?
The reality of it was, number one, it made me appreciate money. It made me appreciate how hard it is to sustain it, and how easy it is for it to go. Sorry, let me rephrase that. It's how easy it is to make it, but how hard it is to get rid of it. And in this job, it gave me stability in my life. It gave me a routine that I didn't have, a routine. Whereas I never had routine before. I was waking up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the day.
Yeah.
I was doing what I wanted on the laptop, making music. I was going out and DJing 3 or 4 in the morning. I was drinking like fuck, doing whatever else. And then I was getting up and doing it all over again. I didn't have to go to a set time, come home at a set time. You know, it gave me principle again. You know, and it humbled me. It showed me, the main thing it did, it showed me that it's not what I want to do. If that makes sense. It showed me what why I was doing what I was doing, but it also made me appreciate what I'm in a position to do.
100%.
And once the pandemic, like, thankfully came out from that, that's when I had the shift change. It was just mad. It was timing, because obviously I was coming out of that job, and then in around that time, Biss was building the studio out in Drimnagh. So he basically reached out to me after that. I actually done a show. There was one show, I think, where there was like a week throughout the pandemic where there was like, we opened up for a week, and then, like, loads of people tried to get gigs in as quick as possible, and by chance myself and Biss got booked for the show as separate artists in Dundalk or Drogheda or something. And that's when we sat down, and I was a wreck, you know what I mean? I think I was out heavy that night, and he wasn't. He was the opposite. And I was just basically pouring my heart out to him, because, like, I felt like a calmness there where, like, he understands. And once I seen him in his position, how secure he was, not secure, but like more structured, more of a routine than me, it woke me up, and all these different things happening at the same time. Once the pandemic opened back up, then I was like, right, it's go time, you know. And then in the middle of all that again, I met my girlfriend during COVID as well. So it was just mad. Like, the people that were there before COVID, they weren't there, were gone. And the people that were supposed to be here now came in. So if anything, I can thank the pandemic in a way where most people can't. But it brought me back down there. It brought me back to who I am. And yeah, here we are.
Literally. I remember being shoved into a catering job at the age of 16, right? That was such a shit waitress, man. That was so shit.
I was actually a lounge boy for a week, and my auntie was the head barman. And I remember she actually looked at me at the end of the week and was like, I think it's best that part ways here, you know what I mean?
I was so bad at it, but honestly, it gave me such a fucking perspective, because I was like, listen, man, if you're shit at literally one of, not even the easiest jobs, because it's such a hard industry to be at, but it's an industry that everyone overlooks and think is easy. If I can't handle that and be good at it, I need to put my fucking head down.
Yeah.
And make sure that I try my absolute hardest to never be in a position.
Mm.
And this, I really hope people aren't thinking that I'm like being shit towards the catering industry and all that. But I think it really humbled me as well in knowing, no, like you're not even
Yeah.
good enough for that, dude.
But see, that's not really like, that's not down to you not being, you know, like it's just one of them things where it's not for everyone. You know what I mean? Like the catering industry obviously isn't for you.
Exactly.
Like
exactly.
me working as a lounge boy wasn't for me.
No,
You know what I mean?
That's it.
There's people obviously in them industries that are really good at what they do,
so
and they're gonna have a really good career in that industry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's just about what you're built
They
for at
work
the end
so
of the day.
hard.
And,
100%.
but jobs like that, you know, they give you perspective on what you want to do. You know what I mean?
That's
and
it.
it reminds you of what you actually want to do.
It's probably one of the biggest lessons I ever had, and I'm so thankful that my parents pushed me for that.
Mm.
I want to chat to you because I know you mentioned pouring your heart out to visit. Sorry, my accent, I pronounce it in a
No, that was actually probably better.
Oh,
than
okay,
me.
okay. Yeah.
His name is actually Bissett, so.
Oh, okay, there you go. Yeah, I pronounce the T's.
Yeah, that's the one.
You said that you were pouring your heart out to him, right?
Yeah.
Was that hard for you to do? Because I know that men's mental health and sharing and opening up to others is quite like a topic over here.
That's a very good question. Me personally, no, I don't have an issue with it. I'm very open in terms of my mental health. I think it needs to be talked about a lot more. You know, maybe that's down to me, or maybe I'm a bit too trusting in that sense, where I've poured my heart out to. It's just who I am. You know what I mean? I will just speak about it. If that's how I feel, that's how
You're
I'll speak.
authentically you.
Yeah, that's just who I am.
Yeah.
And I don't like. I feel like the mind and the therapy of the mind is as important as it is to be, you know, physically strong. You know, I feel like if your head's not right, nothing's right. And that's not to say I'm sitting here perfectly. Like I struggle with mental health all the time, but it's normal. And this is the problem. You know, the people think that mental health is not a sickness, and it's not. You know, like it's not normal when you feel shit. But I guarantee you, every single person that you've met or come across at some point in their life, they've felt down, they felt shit at some point. Like it's normal. It's part of a human's life to feel shit and to feel down. Sometimes it's more regular for people than others. It is what it is. But it has to be more. It has to, like there's definitely a stigma, that needs to be looked at a lot more serious. But realistically, unfortunately, that's not the case. It's not being looked at. And you know, whenever you get the chance to speak about it, like now, like we're on this podcast now, like it's just about sitting there and talking to somebody, and yeah, it is okay not to be okay, and that's it. You know what I mean? There's no shame in it. At the end of the day, I was in a position where I felt like I was forced to speak, you know, out to somebody. But I didn't feel shit about it. I felt better after. And a perfect example of that is I poured my heart out to Bizza that day. Bizza listened to me. And here we are now taking on the world together.
That's the key thing. He listened.
He listened to me. But even if you look at that on a bigger scale, me and him are partners now. We work together. But he didn't look at me as some broken man, you know, that was pouring his heart out. He looked at me as this kid is fucking. Like, he didn't know that I was struggling like that until I spoke to him like that, you know what I mean? He just seen me as RobbieG, the producer that's producing like me, who's making music like me in Dublin. He's doing great, you know what I mean? And his mentality towards it was, and hats off to him for it, was, you know, I need to help this fella. I need to look after him, you know what I mean? And it just shows you being fragile or being broken doesn't mean that you're done for. Doesn't mean that you're a weak person. You know what I mean? That's the main thing. Like, it's not about being a weak person. Like, people can be, you know, people can struggle sometimes mentally, but it does not make you weak. You know what I mean? Like, once you come back and think straight, and, you know, you can, after overcoming things like that and after speaking to somebody, like, you can become an even bigger person than you'd ever dreamed you could be. You know what I mean? And after the shit that I went through and the way I felt, I never thought I was getting out of that. Never. You know what I mean? I never thought I was going to work on a bleeding in a job. I never thought I was going to sign a deal with Polydor Records, the same label as the Beatles, Billie Eilish, all these superstars, you know what I mean? And I'm just a fucking normal bloke at the end of the day. You never thought any of this stuff would happen. But that starts with thinking, talking about your thoughts at the end of the day, whether it's good, whether it's bad, and finding somebody that, you know, listens to you. You know what I mean? And there's always somebody who's going to listen to you, and that's what your mind doesn't tell you. There's always somebody that's going to listen to you at the end of the day, and I guarantee you, no matter what you're saying or what you're speaking, whether it makes sense or whether it doesn't, if you just fucking speak your mind, you will feel better in the end of it, and I guarantee you'll come out better on the other side, 100%.
I think a lot of people always feel alone when it comes to this sort of stuff. I must be weird, I must be strange to feel this, but it's also just you being authentically yourself in that moment in time and sharing it with other people, good or bad, is the way to go. It's the way you're going to find the right help. It's the way you're going to get the good deals and the bad ones as well. It's just that authenticity of going, you know what, I'm not fine. I think especially in your industry where it is parties, it is drugs, it is alcohol, I am so happy. And it's also interesting because you guys go behind these decks and you are happy and everyone is smiling and dancing, but then there's some real fucking problems in that industry. Avicii, gone. Like, massive talent.
What people don't see is, you know, you're walking home to an empty hotel room.
That's
you know
it.
I mean? You might be standing there in front of thousands of people and they might be going back to their parties or whatever, but if I'm not going back to them parties or I'm not doing this, I'm going back to an empty hotel room. You know, I'm going to bed myself. I'm going to bed with, you know, I'm on my own. It's a lonely environment. If I'm on tour and I'm not with my people, I'm on my own most of the time.
And it's unnatural to go from entertaining 5,000 people or whatever that may be to then just by yourself.
Yeah, it is, and it's something that, you know, you don't think in the moment. You don't be thinking about that. You're just thinking about being on that stage. You don't think about when you're walking off that stage and you get in that car and it's complete silence. You know what I mean? And you're thinking about what's going on. Your mind is still racing. Your head is still racing. You know, and yeah, it is a crazy lifestyle to have. You know, but I feel like if you like me personally, I'm trying to deal with going from that to one extreme to another, but trying to find a normality in that. And a big part of that is, like I said, finding the people around me. So I have my girlfriend around me. She's so supportive. She's the best, you know what I mean? And she's helped me so much, and finding that normality and that like, you know, not staying up on this level, finding that balance between, like, you know, when you walk off the stage, you know, you're back here again, you know.
Familiar face, I know what to
exactly,
do.
a comfort or calmness, you know what I mean? But yeah, like it is crazy, you know. It's something it's very hard to get used to, but the more I go on, the more I deal with this, it's a lot easier because, like I said, I'm not doing it for the fame. I'm not doing it for the money. I'm not, like, when I am doing it for the money, for the security reasons.
For the other reasons, yeah.
But I'm not doing it for, you know, I'm doing it for that feeling that I get on the stage. You know, I'm doing it to connect with people, to, like, I feed off the people looking at me and absolutely loving their life, like, in the moment. You know what I mean? And that's heartwarming for me. You know what I mean? I'm not there I'm not walking up the stage thinking like I'm superior to them. You know what I mean? Where there's a lot of people that do think like that. Like I think like, wow, that was amazing. Like, they literally were just like they loved that. Like, you know what I mean? They loved what I created in there for them, and that's magical. Did you get me? And that just gives me, you know, it makes me feel good. You know, in a way where, like, it makes me continue. I want to continue to do what I'm doing.
100%.
You know what I mean? And continue connecting with people like that.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's the hunger. That's what keeps me going. You know, it doesn't make me feel, like I said, that thing about going from one extreme to another. That's to a mental point of view. But with that connection and, you know, making music and people loving the music, that's what kind of helps you as well.
Hello, how are you doing? If you're enjoying this episode of Take Two with Deb Shaw, then listen. You know what I'm going to say next. Like it, follow it, subscribe, comment, tell me I look ugly. Who the fuck knows? That's all right. We're all good. We're all friends here. We're going to switch over to that camera now because we're professional. Yeah, there you go. Listen, I appreciate you listening / watching. Keep on watching. You know, just help me out a little bit. On with the show. another thing that you were talking about that kept you going is self-belief.
Yeah.
You talk about that quite a bit. Now, it's going to sound weird, but recently I was on a podcast where the lad asked me, Deb, do you think you're special? And I was like, yeah, but I couldn't fucking explain why.
Right.
And I was put on the spot and I looked like an utter douchebag.
Yeah.
But after reflecting on it for a bit, I was like, I think you kind of touched on it. It's not the feeling special concept, but it's I'm not greater than, but I felt like there was something within me that kept me going.
Yeah.
And I want you to touch on that because I couldn't fucking explain it.
Yeah.
But there is that self-belief that this is what I'm meant to do. And as did you feel it? And now here you fucking are.
You know, I believe, right? I believe that everybody on this earth has something within them that they're exceptional at. Like that they have in them that is like is their thing, you know what I mean? And if they actually strive and go for that and fuck what anyone else thinks and like don't look at what society is saying is right or what's not, and they actually go for it, you know, if they find themselves, there's always something within themselves within people, no matter who you are. Like if you like I knew what it was, thankfully, because I had a family around me that had music. So I found that very young, which I was blessed with.
Yeah.
You know, that I was blessed in that situation. I wasn't
100%.
like
And it was out of your control, but like
I was blessed. It
Yeah.
was just a blessing, really. But I believe that everybody, you know, if they just don't let, like, it's easier to say just don't let shit bother you, because like I said, shit bothers me. I'm human. But like if you just constantly, like whatever it is, like just if you just go back to what you are and what you know, what you feel inside, and you continue to strive on that, regardless of what's going on in your life. You just keep doing that. That's you, you know, that's where you feel at peace. You know, that's where your soul feels at peace. Then it will take you to where you want to be. Like I was listening to a podcast there the other day, and it was like, you know, you can strive to be wherever you want to be, but if that's not who you are, you're not going together at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Like I could go out and I could be a boxer, I could be a barber, I could be whatever, but I probably wouldn't be happy in that sense. I probably wouldn't reach my full potential in that sense. But like I said, something inside me, it is very hard to explain. It is like in that sense. I just feel like that's just who you are. Like when you feel like you're special, you know, it brings you back to what you think you're capable of, what you think you are as a person.
That's it.
You know what I mean? And sometimes it's not, you can't explain that. You just have to do it because that's who you are. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, I can't explain why I'm good at what I do. I can't explain it. Like I took it on, like, yeah, I worked hard. Don't get me wrong. I worked very fucking hard, but you know, I always felt like there was music in me. And that's just who I am at the end of the day. And I can't explain that. I feel like that's just what it is. That just boils down to me being somebody who thought 5 years ahead. Like I said, I was, you know, constantly worrying about what I'm going to be, who I'm going to be at a very young age. And with that gives me that kind of anxiety of like worrying about what's next. And like I said, I found that at a young age, and that's just me. Like that's just my experience. I found music very young, and I got that feeling very young, and that feeling that I have, and like I said, I wear my heart on my sleeve, so I'm very with me feelings. So if I feel right, then I know that that's what I need to pursue. You know what I mean? And like that's just me. At the end of the day, a lot of people kind of struggle. Like for example, my sister is an absolutely phenomenal singer. Like she's a bigger star than I'll ever be. Like as much as people sit here and talk about, you know, what I'm doing and how great I'm doing and, you know, all this shit. My sister is so talented. She's unbelievable. Like, but, you know, sometimes she doesn't believe in herself enough. And that frustrates me. You know what I mean? Because I know, regardless of what she does in her life, and I've told her this, regardless of what she does in her life, she is a singer. Like, she has to sing, you know. And people always ask me, like, why do you never have your sister on a song and it's not? We have music there together, but it's not, she agrees and I agree, it's not the right time for her because she's not ready for it, you know. She's not.
How old is she?
She's 21, I think.
Ah, yeah.
I could be wrong there and I'll probably get in trouble for
Go
that.
on,
but,
man. You know that she's meant to be a fucking singer, but then you don't know her age.
I know. But she's 21, 20, 22. in between them girl ages.
One of those ones.
But no, but like, I'm going to get battered for that.
You are.
But No, but listen, she is honestly, she's amazing, and she's just one example of like people that I know around me that like I can see it in them, you know, and if they just don't let life get in the way sometimes, because life does get in the way with everybody, but if you just don't get in the way of it and just know who you are, like that's the main thing. You know who you are, nothing can stop you. Like self-belief is obviously, you know, what can makes you like get through the things, but if you don't know who you are, you can't believe in yourself. You know what I mean? And if the way I see it is, if you find something that, you know, gives you that feeling of like purpose, really, just go with it. Like fuck what anyone else thinks. At the end of the day, I didn't give a fuck. You know what I mean? I didn't care. You know what I mean? Like to an extent, I was fighting with people. I was trying to convince people of what I'm going to do, but deep down, when it came to it, I didn't care. I just continued to do it, and I knew what I was going to do at the end of the day. And it's like a survival tactic, really. Like when you're in this isolated environment where like people don't know what you're thinking, don't know what you're doing, don't know why you're doing it or any of this. Like they think you're just a lost cause. You're a free thinker, really. Like you're just like one of these creatives that just like is just gonna do their thing, and they might be broke for years doing it, but that's what, like, don't mind all that. You know what I mean? Don't mind any of that shit. Like you do things for you and things are gonna work out for you. Like you do things for that feeling that you feel inside where, you know, you feel like that's what you should be doing, and your brain's telling you, your conscience is telling you, this is right, this feels right. Go with it. You know what I mean? And then if it doesn't work out for you, well then find something new. You know what I mean? Like you might be far off in your sector if you feel a certain way about something, but that didn't work out. What I mean by that is, I started off in computers, but I didn't start off making music. I was a graphics designer. I tried making graphics designs first. I tried being a gamer. It starts with that, you know what I mean? Like, didn't know I was going to be a music producer, but I was on computers, you know what I mean?
And you know what that is? That's execution right there. And I kind of like talk about it quite a bit, because a lot of people and questions that I get is, how do I find my passion? How do I get confident? My purpose, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, I had this guy on who owns and runs Ocean One Official, Keenan Brangan. And he was talking about proving people wrong all the time. And the way we got about it was then just going, fuck proving people wrong, proving people right, whatever that may be. It's execution. Execution is your proof. And that's what you just touched on, which is, I started out with computers. I was doing something. And then it moved on to that, and then that, and whatever. Execution is your proof. Confidence comes through execution. Confidence then results in a passion, then purpose. The difference between passion and purpose is that passion is for you, purpose is for others. That's it. And that's the beautiful thing. And people really overthink it and overanalyze it. And it's going, what's my passion? And it's like, mate, just fucking try something.
Just try it.
Just try it.
Just try it. Trial and error. Like
and you're going to be shit at the start.
You're in your 20s. You're in your 20s.
Literally. Like 30s, 40s, whatever that may be.
But like 20, in your 20s, from the time you're 20 to the time you're 30, is the years where you're supposed to be trying things.
100%.
You know what I mean? Like my cousin wanted to be a pilot. Now he's a chauffeur. Now he's doing a course to be, you know, he's a bodybuilder now. You know what I mean? Like he's doing all these things. He's younger than me. Like he's just a perfect example of like just fucking trying everything. He doesn't care. You know what I mean? He does not care like what people think. He's going to find himself, and that's why I know my cousin is going to be a successful businessman in whatever he does. He was actually a gamer as well. He entered competitions to be games, and but it
will make sense eventually. That's it.
It's trial and error. It's just finding yourself. It's just finding yourself. It's as simple as that. Like, you know, I can't stress it enough. Like, you know, as much as life looks hard and life is shit, like we are in a privileged position here to be able to find ourselves. We have the internet now. We have social media. You have
everything.
Like you have everything. You do. You have everything in front of you. Like, you know, like it's just go out there and find yourself. That's it. That's what I did.
Yeah, you're not gonna find your passion while sitting on your ass doing nothing, waiting for
giving out about not finding yourself
and giving out about it. Exactly. That's basically it. And that's why it's so fun that we do live in this day and age. Like, the one thing that I love about being based in Dublin, and that's what I said before I moved here, is I can't wait to be in Dublin because I know that if I'm bored, it's my fault. It's on me now.
That's a good way of thinking.
Because literally the world, like, every option is here. If I don't make it, it's on me, man.
Yeah, exactly. And that's it. Like that's mad that you said that, because like from anyone in Dublin, that's you know, that was born and reared in Dublin, the majority of the people over here think that there's no opportunity here. They
There's
actually
so much.
they think that there's no opportunity in Dublin. Like they've been, you know, they've been bred into them that, you know, it's the government's fault. It's fucking like this fault, this person's fault. It's that person's fault. It's everyone else's fault but their own. You know, like you just have to look at the success stories from people all over the world. The most successful people in this world came from the hardest backgrounds or the worst backgrounds. They came from nothing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So like, what's your excuse? Like, you're in a more modern day now. You're in a modern time where like you can actually do something. Like you can lift up a laptop, you can lift up a phone, you can buy an old phone for like €50, or you can go onto the internet, you can find opportunity, you can, you know, I'm not saying like everyone's rich, I'm not saying that, but to the person that, like, you know, grew up, you know, went to school, like has the is privileged enough to go through the education system, you know, go and actually, you know, go to college or whatever, like there's no reason why you can't find yourself. There's no reason why you can't, you know, if you're a creative, there's no reason why you can't go out and find yourself at the end of the day. Because I didn't look for excuses. I didn't once look for excuses. You know, you obviously didn't sit down and settle. You know what I mean? You wanted to find yourself, and you know, you went out there and got it. And that's if you look at anybody who is successful in Dublin, they're not letting the circumstances around them or the situation around them define them. And that's a lot of people's issue, which is sad in Ireland, which is sad in Dublin, you know. Like it goes back to the story with me and Biss. Like people were always giving out to me about, you know, saying like, oh, you're not better than him, you're not this, you're not that, and vice versa to him to me. You know, constantly belittling people and constantly, you know, finding reason to, you know, shut down.
Crabs in a bucket mentality.
Exactly.
Pulling each other down.
But when we came together, the message was, we don't care what you say. We're coming together as one. We know what we want to do. It's everything in one, and it forced people to think differently and code their heads differently and think, Jesus, like, how the fuck did this happen? You know what I mean? Like, how did they do this? You know what I mean? And they're forced to think, okay, well, like, these didn't like think the way I'm thinking. They didn't do that, and it's forcing them to think differently. And in Ireland, it shows that, you know, when you come together, when you work together, you don't look at the narrative of what's Dublin people, like the working class person in Dublin, or, you know what I mean? Like, if you don't fall into that bracket and believe you're bigger than that, you know, believe that there's something out there for you rather than just being what's been given to you, you know, you can do great things, you can do amazing things, and you can continue to do that because, you know, you're alive.
That's it. And we're here for fucking one of them.
Exactly, one life, that's it. So just go and fucking do it.
100%. So we touched on work now, which is the fourth thing, right? Another Instagram caption, it's not that deep, but it still is. You captioned, we're just out here enjoying the fruits of our labor.
Mm-hmm.
What has work involved for you in the past 10 years? Explain the sacrifices that you had to make.
That was the word I was going to start with. Sacrifice. It involved a lot of sacrifice.
What did you sacrifice?
I sacrificed a lot of my social life. You know, I was, like I said, I was isolated. I didn't go out a lot. I didn't have a lot of friends growing up. I had acquaintances. You know, I had young people that I could have been involved with. I could have been around. But I was on my own. I kind of didn't go to the normal nights out, the normal events, the normal parties that were going on, you know, where like people were constantly like going to these places and living for that, living for the weekend, living for this, living for that. I was bleeding as a wreck during the week, thinking about what my future was going to be, you know, and that's why I was constantly working. And I, you know, in the business that I'm in, there's a lot of uncertainty in there, because it's like being an aspiring actor, or you know, being an aspiring artist as a whole. There's a lot of uncertainty there, because there isn't, especially in Dublin, I think, because obviously that's what I can experience, that's what I've experienced. There's not a pathway for creatives in Dublin, you know. So me doing what I was doing at the time, I actually, like, realistically, I didn't know if I was going to make it or not.
You never do.
I didn't know, you know.
Yeah.
But I was getting up every day, and I was I was telling people I was going to do it when I didn't even know. Realistically, I didn't know because I didn't know what tomorrow,
Of course.
you know,
Of course.
was coming. Like, so it's like you know, it's only until now where things are doing well, and I'm standing on that stage that I dreamt of standing on, and I'm looking at these people out there, and I'm really taking it in. There comes a point where I'm just like, I really did work hard for this shit. Like, I worked really fucking hard for this. Like, fighting, like I said, like we were saying earlier, I fought with my family over this. I fought with my own people that I love, that I'm doing this for, in order to be in this position and do what I want to do, you know, and stand on this stage and be that 1% that's standing on that stage, you know, and not be part. I never wanted to be part of the crowd. I wanted to be the one that's looking at everybody. That's just me. I wanted to be on that stage. I wanted to be the one controlling the room. In order to do that, I had to fucking work me whole off, like sleepless nights, you know, like nearly every second day, believing, like not believing in myself, and then believing in myself the next day, constantly battling with myself mentally. And you know, it's not as easy as it looks. Like, it's funny, after all of that, then after Make Me Feel Good going viral, you know, before that I released 70 songs. I released 70 songs with 70 different labels. All of them flopped nearly. Probably, I reckon 3 or 4 of them songs were a success. The rest of them are flops. So most of my time working for the past 10 years has been told no. Do you know what I mean? And still constantly having to get up and believe. And people don't see that. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, like it's you have to be told no. Like I said, you have to look. Like my dad always said this to me. This is something my dad always said to me, and I never wanted to believe it because I felt like it was just always happening. My dad is just tells me how it is. He's blunt. So sometimes we fight over that. That's the way he is. But I'm blessed to have him in that sense. But he always says to me, you need to learn how to lose before you learn how to win. And that you ask any fighter that's what makes a great champion, because they need to learn how to lose fights in order to learn how to win the fights.
Exposure to failure.
Exactly, because if you look at any artist or anyone that's coming around that's winning all the time, you watch that ego build, that creates a monster.
Yeah.
It does. It creates a monster. It creates somebody who thinks that they're unstoppable and that they are superior, whereas that's not the case. You know what I mean? And you know, with that sacrifice that I've missing out, and I've experienced a lot at a very young age, within what I've tried to do, or what I have been doing. Whereas, you know, I've gained a lot of experience in what I've done. I'm, you know, even though I feel like, and I can see it happening now because we're getting older, I feel like there's a lot of people, you know, in my day and age that, you know, we're just flowing, we're happy with what was going on every day of the week, living for the weekend. And I'm in a position now where I know what I want to do, and I'm doing my thing. And these people kind of like are getting a bit lost now. They're starting to question themselves, and that's a fear I had for years. So in a way, I was willing to deal with the struggles of the uncertainty in order to be certain now, if that makes sense.
100%.
So the past 10 years of my life I wouldn't change for the world, all the experiences included, because now I'm able to enjoy the fruits of my labour.
And what's really interesting is that I'm sure that everyone that's listening to this or knows you knows that if that song didn't go viral, you would still be doing this right now.
Exactly.
And that's the fucking guarantee right there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you would still be at your laptop.
Yeah.
You would still be performing and figuring it out
Yeah.
until then. It's the work ethic and time.
Yeah, and it's the love for it. You know, I never went, obviously, as a young boy from Dublin who makes music, my dream was always to get a number one hit, but, you know,
it's more than that now.
It's more than that, and it always was more than that. You know,
Yeah.
I never thought, like, in the day after, like, or the year after a pandemic struck, I was going to be a number one hit. Like, I was going to be the first dance act to get a fucking hit in 22 years. I never, ever, ever thought that. You know, like, I believed I was going to get a hit, but I never understood what it meant. You know, and it doesn't really mean much.
That's what I was going to ask you.
It doesn't really mean much. Yeah, there's a status to it, you know, or like number one, but I'm still waking up the next day and still, you know, it's like signing that deal. You still have to tell yourself that you are the same person. You are no more, you know, you're not bigger than anyone. You still have to work. You still have to do your thing. And I feel like them things that come with it, like, as much as getting a number one hit and having that number one award sitting on your desk, like, with that comes a lot of pressure, like you said, but it's a burden as well. It can be a burden too, because it can control your life. You know?
Feel like a target's on your back now.
Yeah, 100%. Like, that's, yeah, I do feel like a target is on my back, you know, because like before, like I said, when I didn't know what this really was, as much as I loved music and I wanted to be in this position, I didn't realize, you know, whether it was what I wanted in terms of like being in the public eye or not. You know, before, like I said, it was about being known for my music. I wanted to be famous, but in the sense of being famous for my music, not being famous for just to be famous, if that makes sense. I wanted to be known as like I wanted the people know me as my music. Like like if I die tomorrow, people know me as he made fucking great music. You know what I mean? That's what I want to be not famous for in a sense. I don't want to be like fucking Kim Kardashian or, you know what I mean? I don't want to be to that extent of fame. Like that that's a different type of fame.
That's
You know
for
what I mean?
personality.
Personality, yeah,
Yeah,
that'd be the best way of
that's
putting it.
it.
But it's a relevance. It's a relevance sort of fame where like I I just want to be known for what I am at the end of the day. And I feel like in this day and age of me, you know, going viral in this day and age, and you know, being in the public eye in this day and age, it's very dangerous. Because it's not about the music really. You know, as much as I am a producer and I put you know, I worked 10 years making music, and now I've become a hit. Like it's not about that anymore, and it can be a very dangerous waters as well.
With your relationship, it's about
Yeah,
what
it's
you're
about
wearing.
everything.
It's
It's
about
about your public life.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
there's not a lot of privacy anymore, and I think now as things are starting to kick off for me, like I'm starting to, you know, make sure that the privacy is important, and that stays separate to
Your
what.
life isn't other people's
Yeah,
entertainment.
no, and it's something I've you know, I'm like I don't want that. You know what I mean? I don't want people to be so invested to the point where, like, I have haters now, which is crazy. Like I
What
actually
are they hating
I have
on?
me as a whole, just because of my success. Like I've actually never thought I'd understand that, but there's actually people out there trying to sabotage what I'm doing. You know, um, sorry, let me just finish that. I've people out there trying to sabotage what, not just me, but as Belters only, just because we're a success, you know. And then for ages I didn't understand that. Like I was like, it affected me. Like I'm still only dealing with that now because it's new to me. Like,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I've come to terms that there's actually just people out there that are so invested in other people's lives, you know, because they're so unhappy in theirs, and I find that so sad. You know what I mean? And it's just like I'm saying. What I'm saying is like it'd be dangerous when there's people like that out there that, you know, that are looking at me now. Whereas I have, where if you close the book, you close the music, you put that whole career at the side, I'm just a normal fella. I'm just a normal bloke. I just have a different type of job
100%.
to
That's it.
what everyone else is doing, and
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not above anyone. But there's, from the outside looking in, to some people
They put you up there now.
yeah, but I'm not really. You know, as much as people might think I am, I'm not. I'm just doing my thing at the end of the day. And with this situation that I'm in now, it's very important for me to separate, you know, my privacy from my public life. Very important. You know?
Have you seen a few people try and attempt to make a relationship with you that you were like, bad vibes, I'm out?
Yeah.
Has it happened often and stuff?
Like that's one thing I think that I'm alright at is reading people.
Oh, bullshit.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I also a con to that, and me being so trusting, is that I still I brush that aside. You know, even though I know somebody, though I know somebody is like, there's a bit of malicious like thought to them, I'd still kind of brush that aside and find the good in people, you know. And that has come back to bite me on the arse in the past couple of years.
Some people are good salesmen about themselves. Huh? Like,
Yeah.
I get this gut feeling. I'm like, Deb, no.
Yeah.
And then I still go after it, and I'm like,
Yeah. I'm like that.
I was screwed.
I'm like that, you know.
Why didn't I listen to myself?
But because of that, and because of the way I've been, like my past experience of being fucked over, and like it's down to that. It's down to me being like that.
Yeah.
And it's made me stronger as a person in that sense. You know what I mean? And I'm still learning to this day that how to deal with that, and how to like cut people off when I can see the bullshit. You know what I mean? And yeah, like I said, I'm still learning. I'm only human, so we're getting there, but we're getting there. Has
One
to be
step
done.
at a time. Last one, right, is that you're making it happen. So, in hindsight, now that it's been a decade, could you pinpoint what the right decisions were? Obviously, it's opening up to business.
Mm-hmm.
What would the other things be? Besides all the little like moments of magic that brought you here.
I think the only decision that I think is the right decision. I think everything else that happened was down to, you know, whatever was supposed to happen, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
like even opening up the business, I didn't think I was going to wake up that day and have that conversation. You know what I mean? I didn't decide like I was going to go and have this chat with him. Like that just came out of me. That's just how I was feeling in that day. So I feel like in that sense, I feel like the only decision I think that I can say was the right decision was that I never gave up. Because I feel like I didn't give up on myself, on who I was. Any other feeling or any other emotion I felt in the whole time in the past 10 years or whatever's going to happen in the next few years, I know that I'll never give up. And I will never change who I am in terms of what I do, and what my soul needs in order to be what it is. I feel like that's the only decision really. I feel like it's down to just not stopping, not like constantly believing in yourself, just constantly believing in yourself, regardless of what's going on. Now there is going to be times, I'm not saying like every day wake up and have full belief in yourself, because that's just impossible. That's just not going to happen. But like what I'm saying is life hits you in different ways. Life is there's part of life where you have to be up and you have to be down. That's the way it is. It balances itself out. But when it comes to the time where you are level headed, you wake up that day and you're feeling a bit fresh, you just have to believe in yourself. Just have to believe in yourself. If you're like, even when you're feeling down, you have to talk to yourself. That's something that I did, which actually I feel like somebody said somewhere that it's a sign of being a psychopath or something, that if you talk to yourself all the time. But that's something that I've done for years in my own bedroom, talking to myself.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like I'm talking to my conscience really. I always tell myself I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. You know what I mean? Like constantly bigging myself up, and it helps. You know what I mean? It helped at times when I was feeling shit, and I feel like that boils down to just constantly believing in myself. You know, regardless of what's going on in my life, I'm not going to sit here and talk about, you know, the shit things that happened in my life that you know changed how I was as a person. It stopped me from doing whatever I was doing. I'm sitting here saying that the things that happened in my life were making me push forward and defined me. You know what I mean? Made me believe in myself. And just I accepted the situation that was at hand. But I also accepted that feeling that I get inside, and that's, you know, everyone's just trying to find themselves in this life at the end of the day. Even the people that are lost, you know, they're just struggling a bit more than we are. But I feel like as long as you constantly believe in yourself, then I feel like everything else will just work itself out.
That's it. Robbie, shall we leave it at that?
Yeah, I'll keep going all day. So
fucking loved it. Oh my god, that was amazing.
Fair play. Thanks for having us, by the way. Pleasure.
I really appreciate it, honestly. I really hope that people saw a new side to you. Because thank you for sharing everything, and honestly, sending all the good energy with your mom.
I'm back at you.
Yeah. Everyone, thank you so much for listening / watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Ciao, ciao. Hello. How are you doing? I really hope you enjoyed my chat with Robbie fucking G. To think that I was recording upstairs in a pub, in my room, in a studio down in Fairview, to now this is actually crazy. Robbie, if you've watched this or listened to this conversation that we had, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining me. But last but not least, I want to say thank you to you, the listener / watcher. It really means a lot to me that I'm finally able to sit down with the likes of RobbieG. I don't want to sound too cheesy, but like the fact that people are listening and watching to this really means a lot to me, and this is what I want to do. This is where I want to keep going. So here's to that. If you enjoyed it, let me know. Comment, DM, share, like, follow, subscribe, whatever it may be. Let's keep having these really good chats. I really appreciate it. Have a good one. Bye bye.